Right, so hello. Today I'm going to finally talk about some books I've read. So I'm going to talk about everything I've read from the beginning of the year. There's only 20 books. I have been in a reading slump this year, so first some ground rules here. 20 books is still kind of a lot to review in a timely manner. So there are some books that I don't have a lot of thoughts on, and if that's the case, I'm just going to say it wasn't my vibe, 3 stars, and that will have to do. So I have time to actually properly review books that I might have some insightful things to say about. I think I'm going to group all of the books in different genres. So let's start with poetry and plays, because especially when it comes to poetry I don't have a lot of thoughts on those kind of books, so that will be quick. So I finished 2 poetry collections and 2 plays. Let's start with poetry. First was Calling a Wolf, which I did not get along with. I gave it 2 stars. This is definitely the case of it didn't work for me, but it might work for you. So I gave this book a low rating, but I'm not saying don't read it. It was a little bit too abstract for me. It is about addiction, alcoholism, and I thought I would enjoy it, but this style of poetry just wasn't my thing. The second book I read it on script. That is The Art is Killing Me and Other Poems by Amber Dawn. So I give it 3 stars, but the more I think about it, the more I'm maybe it's a 3.5 stars or even higher than that, because this collection of poetry definitely stayed with me, and I found the poems about her experience with sex work to be really kind of enlightening, and I wouldn't say they changed my perspective, but just I don't know, broadened my horizons. I don't know how to say it, but it was very interesting, although some of the more interesting poems I found myself reading and then thinking, this is cool, but I would rather read a non-fiction book about it. So there's that. So aside from sex work, she explores queerness, individual and systematic trauma, and the process of creative writing. She used to be a sex worker, and now she's a writer, and also she, I think, teaches at different universities. So it's definitely something different, and I would recommend it. So I feel 3 stars is a little bit too low. And I don't know, maybe I need to reread it, I'm not sure. And that's it when it comes to poetry. I read 2 plays. One is Seawall by Simon Stevens? Is that how you say it? So I found it on Audible when I still had my subscription, and if you have the subscription, it's actually free. Oh my god, my hair keeps falling out of a ponytail. It's so annoying. Okay. Okay, Seawall by Simon Stevens. I give it 3 stars. It's actually, free on Audible, and it's actually 2 plays. And one is read by Jake Gyllenhaal, which is, to be honest, why I've decided to listen to it. And the other play is read by Tom Sturridge. Don't know the guy, but honestly, the performances were the best parts of those plays. My problem was that I could tell those plays were supposed to be devastating and heart-wrenching, but personally I did not find them moving at all, and I didn't find them emotionally engaging. So, but the performances were really good, so 3 stars. So the next thing is actually a play I finished today, which is The Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekov. Here she is. I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was a tragic comedy. It's about this landowner who comes back to her estate, and she is poor at this point, and she has to sell her estate. And honestly, the bottom line, it's about the social change in Russia in the 19th century, and its repercussions in the beginning of the 20th century, where the middle class, or the working class, I'm not quite sure, was gaining importance, and was earning money, and the kind of aristocrats were losing money, and this kind of power change. So it sounds kind of heavy, but originally it was written as a comedy, but I think at its core it is a tragic comedy. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I am looking forward to reading more plays by Anton Chekov. So 4 books down, 16 more to go. What should we go for next? maybe not fiction. I kind of want to end with fiction. So really quickly, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Reni Eddo-Lodge was a good kind of introductory book about racism in the UK, but I only give it 4 stars because the first chapter, I think, let me check. Yeah, the first chapter is called Histories, and it's about kind of history of black people in the UK, and it was like 50-60 pages, and that was the worst part of the whole book. I don't think the author can write about like historical context very well. Like, it genuinely read like a high school essay, but the rest was great, so 4 stars, I would recommend it. Then we have Catch and Kill by, Ronan Farrow. So Ronan Farrow is a journalist who was chasing, you know, the Harvey Weinstein story, and it's really shocking. Like, it really makes you understand why all of those women's stories were not public for so many years. Yeah, like the whole title is Catch and Kill, Lies, Spies, and the Conspiracy to Protect Predators, and it really shows you how like the whole like web of people who are connected to Harvey Weinstein, who are helping him cover all of the stories. And like, it's even like Farrow also talks about the Black Cube, which is like a private Israeli intelligence service which Harvey Weinstein used to kind of pressure executives and NBC to kill the stories there. It's fascinating, it's horrifying, it's really a great read. I give it 4 stars. And the title Catch and Kill actually is kind of an old journalist saying, I don't know what to call it, and it refers to when media companies purchase stories just to bury them so they wouldn't like come out. Yeah, really good. I would recommend it. Okay, so now let's talk about classics. There's not a lot of, well, no, there's a few. Okay, yeah, there's a few classics. So the lowest rating is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I feel so bad saying it because it's a book that my friend Marta really enjoys, and she was really hoping I would enjoy it too. I did not. Okay, let's quickly talk about it. So Orlando is the story of Orlando spans throughout like, I don't know, like 400 years, I think, and it's about Orlando, who at the beginning of the story is a man, but after some time he turns into a woman, and it's never really explained how that happened. It read a little bit like a fairy tale, like a fable, and I don't like that. I don't like fairy tales. It's very kind of vague, absurd, like things are not really explained. For me personally, I found it not very emotionally engaging. Kind of, I felt very distant from the main character. There were many quite tedious descriptions of nature that I did not enjoy. I have to say, it felt a little bit lighter in tone compared to some other Virginia Woolf's books, and it felt a little bit satirical, but it also read very kind of pretentious and self-indulgent. Like, the language sometimes I found a little bit inaccessible. I did find the commentary on gender interesting, even though I felt like we could delve even deeper and talk about it even more. Like, aside from Orlando, there's a few other characters who change in gender and also are kind of immortal or like lived through a few centuries, but at the same time there are people who die. Like, some people live for a long time and don't change their gender, some don't. Like, it's just so, like, nothing is explained. So I did like some commentary on gender. I did think that her commentary on like high London society was very interesting, but aside from that, I didn't enjoy anything else, so I ended up giving it 2 stars. So next we have Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day, which I really enjoyed. I found it really fun and entertaining until it turned very xenophobic and anti-Semitic, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. I don't have a lot of thoughts on this one. I did not appreciate some comments of the main character. I'm very uncomfortable. Oh, I forgot about one more non-fiction. Aspects of a novel. The only thing I've written in my notes is that it's neither here nor there, and I stand by that. So what I mean by this is that this is not a guide how to write. It is also not a book about Ian Forster's experiences with writing. He doesn't talk about his novels at all. He doesn't talk about how he writes his characters, really. This book is really about aspects of a novel. In my review, I think I said that half of the time I was thinking, why are we talking about this? And that's very true, because I understand like some of the chapters, like about the story, about the people, about the plot. I was like, okay, I get it, like those are aspects of a novel, but there are some other chapters like called fantasy or prophecy. Like not every single book has like fantastic elements, and the prophecy I also felt like was like not really necessary. I did write like the last one, Pattern and Rhythm, but so originally this was actually a series of lectures, and I don't know, do we really, like, we've all read books and we know what aspects of a novel are. It didn't do much for me. Yeah, that's what it is. But I give it 3 stars. I didn't hate it, but yeah, not revolutionary in any type of way. Let's go back to the classics. Okay, I talked about Miss Pettigrew. Then we have Always Lived in the Castle, and this one I also don't have a lot of thoughts on. I think it's supposed to be horror, and it's supposed to be scary and unsettling. I didn't really feel that way. I gave it 3.5 stars, and let me quote my review on Goodreads once again. I said that I might have enjoyed reading other people's theories about the plot more than the actual novel, and that's true. There's a lot of questions you have throughout the novel, and most of them are not really like resolved, and I did find it more interesting to read like Reddit and other in other places. I found it more entertaining to read other people's theories about this novel than the novel itself. 3.5 stars, I didn't hate it either. Are we going to talk about 4 stars now? Yes! Okay, so we have 2 surprises actually. Oh, I'm excited to talk about these. First we have The Warden, which is the first book in the, what is it called? Chronicles of Barsetshire. Barsetshire? I don't know how to pronounce that. But by Anton Trollope, by the way. I have to say that I, from the get-go, was expecting not to like it because people say it's not his best book and it's very dry, it's very boring, and I agree. The first half was very dry and very boring. It was mostly about church politics, which I don't find very fascinating. But the second half was really good, because in the second half we got to see like the characters more. Because the first half was really about like this story of this particular church, and I was like, I don't care. But when we got to see the actual characters on the page, and there was more dialogue, and we saw events from characters' perspective, it immediately became fun to me. So, I mean, from the get-go, I could tell I will like Anton Trollope's writing style, but the further I got, the more I realized that I really also like his characters, the way he creates his characters. I found them very interesting and very kind of believable. So, by the end, I found myself really enjoying this book, and I'm really excited to read, other installments in this series. So 4 stars, I enjoyed it a lot more than I anticipated. Another classic that I enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I give it 4 stars. I actually, at some points, was kind of anticipating giving it like a 4.5 stars, but the ending was a little bit, it wasn't like 100% satisfying to me. Oh no, I'm running out of space. Give me a second. Okay, so I deleted some stuff. Let's be quick. I have to say, if not for the length of the novel and the amount of characters this novel has, I would say this is a great classic to start with when you're, a beginner when it comes to classics, because it reads so quickly, even though it's over 1,000 pages long. it's so gripping and it's so entertaining, and like honestly, like the writing style is so easy to get through. A lot of it is just dialogue, but it's not like it's badly written, it's just you like get through the pages really quickly. So I was really surprised when it comes to this book. Yeah, like I said, the ending, there's one character I was like, oh, I wish this ended up differently, but overall, really enjoyed it. And this is just a very entertaining story of revenge. Okay, and... this is more of a modern classic, but let's just talk about this one here. Kindred by Octavia Butler. I also gave it 4 stars. But honestly, it might be more of a 3.5 star. So, this book is about this black woman, Dana, who, like, randomly travels back in time to, I want to say 19th century. And, you know, slavery was a thing back then, and she finds out that one of the slave owners that she meets is her ancestor, and she has to keep him alive, you know, for her to be born in the future. And you know, it's the premise is brilliant and I did enjoy it, but I found some of the things to be a little bit oversimplified, and like 80% of the book is like dialogue, and the time travel is also like never explained. But I did enjoy it overall. There's one scene that was just really caught me off guard and was absolutely horrifying. It actually reminded me of one scene in Midsommar, that horror movie. In the end, like I read it a few months ago and I find it rather forgettable, but I give it 4 stars. Maybe it's probably more 3.5 stars. And lastly, when it comes to classics, we have Letters to a Young Poet, which probably should have been in the non-fiction pile, but it isn't. I give it 5 stars. It's brilliant. It's just a little book of letters that Rainer Maria Rilke sent to this young man who wanted to be a poet, and it talks about life, it talks about art, it talks about writing, it talks about love, it talks about loneliness, and it is just beautifully written. And it also, I get this feeling while I was reading it, and the second I finished the book, I just know that I will reread this book in the future and I will get out of it like different things each time. Like it's a book that will just keep on giving. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Okay, so now let's talk about general fiction and literary fiction. Let's just talk about them together. So what do we have here? Okay, so we have actually romance here, I guess that could be classified as like general fiction. Beach Read by Emily Henry. I enjoyed the beginning a lot. I liked the banter between the two characters and it was fun and cute, but the further we got, the less I enjoyed it. I found the mood to be kind of all over the place. So, because it wants to be like this fluffy, fun romance, but it also touches on some more dark themes, and I don't know if it explored it very well. And also the, like, I don't know what to call it, love interest. His name is Gus, and I felt like the more we got to know him, the more he seemed like a character and not like a real person, which I feel like it should be the other way. But yeah, I give it 3 stars. I'm running out of space again. No. Okay, so it is the next day, as you can tell probably. I realized that I cannot delete any more footage and I actually have to transfer some videos to my laptop, and that took quite a long time, and by the time I was finished it was already dark outside. So we're picking back up from where we left. So we have 4 fiction books to go. We have What Kitty Did Next by Carrie Kablean. I gave it 3 stars. It is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, but focusing on Kitty and kind of what Kitty did after you know, Pride and Prejudice finished. I enjoyed the beginning, maybe even like the first 100 pages, but the further we got, the more bored I was, and I don't know what it was, but it just lacked something. So in the end, it's like a 400 pages long book, and it took me a month and a half to finish it, and that's not a good sign. So another thing that I didn't love was Kitty was supposed to undergo this like transformation She was always kind of considered as like silly, and she has decided to educate herself a little bit more, like read some more books, learn a little bit more how to behave in like high society and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed how we got a glimpses of that in the beginning, but the further we got, the less we saw of that, and I felt like her transformation was not very convincing in the end, and I felt like we didn't spend enough time with her, like reading books, learning stuff. She takes piano lessons, and those piano lessons only, I think, last like a few weeks, and we are told that she got so much better at piano, that she was like really good at piano, but we never see her practicing the piano. I'm just like, that doesn't work like that. I did like the characters. You know, sometimes you read a Pride and Prejudice retelling or any like Jane Austen retelling, and the characters just seem off, just don't seem like the characters in the book at all. And here they were actually pretty similar to the original. I liked the new characters too, but I don't know, there was just nothing. Every time I put this book down after the first 100 pages, I just did not feel like picking it back up, because there was nothing to look forward to when it comes to the plot. I didn't hate it though, so 3 stars. Then we have 2 3.5 stars. That is Cards on the Table by Agatha Christie. This is a Hercule Poirot mystery, and not much to say here. In my review on Goodreads I said interesting mystery with quite a lot of twists, but I didn't find the characters compelling enough for me to care about them. I stand by that statement. Like, the more I read of Agatha Christie's books, the easier it gets for me to guess who has done the thing. It's never really how it was done that's really hard to guess, but the more you read Agatha Christie, the easier it gets to kind of understand certain character types, and, you know, like come to the conclusion who killed the person, or who has done the thing that we are trying to uncover. And here, for the first time in a while, I actually didn't guess it. The twists were really good, but the characters, there was quite a lot of characters, and we didn't spend enough time with them to really like understand them, so I didn't find the characters really engaging. But it was interesting. 4.5 stars, and there's quite a lot of different detectives working on this case, so we see different kind of approaches to detective work, so that's interesting. I did quite enjoy it. 3.5 stars. And then we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. That's also 3.5 star. Honestly, I don't feel like reviewing this book. Like, it's very popular. It is about this girl, Addie LaRue, who makes a deal with a devil to like become immortal, and as it turns out, she does become immortal, but no one can remember her, so she, you know, lives for like decades, like hundreds of years, without anyone remembering who she is. And the timeline is that we kind of skip back and forth between present time in New York and past time of like how she managed to live through those ages when like no one remember her. And personally, I really enjoyed the scenes in the past a lot more than the present scenes. And I did enjoy how she tried to leave a mark on the world kind of through art, like by influencing other people. But overall, yeah, I didn't love it. There's a lot of reviews out there, so I don't think I'm going to say anything new. 3.5 stars. It was fine. Then we finally have a 5 star, but I'm a little bit worried to talk about this book. So it is Fake Accounts by Lauren Euler, and this book is about this American woman who lives in New York, and she's just like 20-something, and she discovers, through kind of snooping through her boyfriend's phone, she discovers that he is an online conspiracy theorist. and he's quite popular. He has like a very popular Instagram account. And this is a very polarizing book. On Goodreads, I think it's the average rating is 3.02, which is very low. And when you like scroll through the reviews, you can see that this is a very polarizing book, because it's like 5 star, 1 star, 5 star, 2 star, 5 star, 1 star, 1 star. So you're either going to love it or absolutely hate it. I kind of, like, I loved it, but I also hated it at times. So the main character is very witty and painfully honest. It was amusing to hear her thoughts, but also this book made me think if it's possible to be too self-aware. Also, I would recommend the audiobook because there are like pages and pages of like narrator's thoughts, and they are funny, but I feel like it would be tedious to read them if you were like reading it physically. And for audiobook, I found it like very fun and amusing. That being said, I would prefer it if this book ended like 20 pages earlier or something like that. Like if the last scene wasn't there, I would have liked a little bit more of an ambiguous ending. But yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. You know what's funny? When I was reading it, so it's this is categorized as like millennial fiction, and before I think the other book that would categorize as that was Normal People, which I absolutely hated. But when I was reading this book, Fake Accounts, it just kept reminding me of The Idiot by Elif Batuman. And I wouldn't say The Idiot is millennial fiction because it's set in the 90s, but I don't know, it's just similar feeling, like the main characters, how we're like in their head and how they're like very self-aware. Yeah, they just felt similar. And after I finished this book, I read an interview with the author, and she was asked, what book do you think your book is most in conversation with? Explicitly, it's in conversation with Beth Lerner's novels and Elif Batuman's The Idiot. And then she mentions a few other novels, but the second I read it, I was like, oh my god, I'm a genius. It is in conversation with The Idiot. I was correct. So, both The Idiot and Fake Accounts, they have a very specific sense of humor, and I know it's not going to be for everyone. And Fake Accounts really focuses on like internet culture, social media, stuff like that. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, I would give it a shot, but if you don't like the beginning, just give up. I don't think you're going to like the rest. Yeah, and that's everything. So this was more of an overview of what I've read this year. Normally I feel like I would delve a little bit deeper into the books that I would mention in a wrap-up, but we don't have the whole day, so I hope this is less than 30 minutes after I've edited it. But yeah, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!